Okay, it's 8 o'clock, we'll bring the meeting to order.
Oh.
There you go.
Well,
It'll be what it'll be.
okay, so it's running right here, and I'm gonna, kind of since everybody's right there on that side, it's kind of to that corner right there.
Okay.
We'll address that same member. Terry Wake, member. You don't have a quorum.
You do not have a quorum.
Nancy was going to be coming out tonight. Is it appropriate for me to text her?
I left a message. I left a note on the door that says we're here.
Let's discuss the situation with Cindy while we get up to it here. I noticed on the meeting minutes she was listed as an alternate member again, and I was under the impression that.
Oh, so I am a member. I was gonna say, we could do it like that.
Yes, you want. I say that we get a quorum.
Yay!
Thank you, Johnny. We have a quorum.
Rich will be along, but he's got
4, right?
4 is a quorum.
He's got a house. Hi, I didn't see us. I was here the other day when nobody else was. It was just me and Gary.
Sorry, but probably off balance.
Okay. We're in the middle of a roll call, and you're the needed one.
Okay. John Racine, member.
Okay, we have a quorum. We got a quorum. The next item on the agenda will be to review the meeting minutes from June 8th. And one item I did see, and Mary said she's already addressed it, is that Cindy Picos is listed as an alternate member, or should be a member.
as it regulates contents on the sign. Would you simplify that to say that the Supreme Court passed a ruling that will not allow regulation of content of the sign? Just, I feel like this could be a really tricky thing as you're trying to work through it, just to keep this as clear as possible. Oh, the following sentence, still 90 to 91. Just the way it's worded is a little bit circuitous, so I was just thinking the Supreme Court passed a ruling that will not allow regulating the contents of signs, something along that line.
I think that's the accurate interpretation, regardless of what was said, is our current regulations control content, and they can't because of the recent Supreme Court ruling. So you have to remove the regulation of content. You can still regulate signs, but you can't regulate content. So I think the wording that you propose, Wendy, is accurate.
The way it's worded now.
No, the way that she said to change it to. Not the way the wording is in the minutes right now.
The Supreme Court passed a ruling that goes against regulating content on signs.
Yeah. Content of signs. Yeah. Does that make sense, Terry?
Yes, it makes sense. I just don't know if if she's taking these words from the recording, and if that's what it said on the recording, can we change the written word?
Well, what was said on the, huh? No, I know, but what
What it said, it's awkward, but I think it says the same thing. The Supreme Court passed a rule that goes against the regulations as it regulates content on the sign.
So
What they're saying is that the state has passed a ruling that goes against our regulations.
okay. Either way, if you're comfortable that that's what it says, then that is the case. So
I just don't know if you can have something worded a certain way in the tape and then.
well, you have to do one of two things. You either have to do a transcript or you can do summary minutes. And if you're going to have your summary minutes be what exactly is said at the meeting, then you need to transcribe the minutes. So you can't, I don't understand. We do summary minutes. We are not doing a transcription.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about word for word what was said. You have to get the gist of it. So
Yeah, my concern is just 5 years from now, if someone's thinking, what were they thinking when they did these sign regulations and look back, and they would understand our thought process.
Yes, okay.
and we keep the audio. We keep the audio or video so that, if something is contested, the audio or the video is what's going to be submitted to the court, because that's the real quote unquote.
Okay, we'll try and do it.
Yeah.
probably say the Resort Association, or the Waterville Valley Resort Association.
It's supposed to be resort group.
Yeah. One.
We have any more time on the June 8th meeting minute draft? I have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the June 8th minutes as amended are accepted. Mark, is there a necessity for us to accept the minutes from?
You didn't have
workshop?
you didn't have a quorum, right?
No.
So, no. It's just going to be a brief record of what was talked about, but they can't be official minutes because it was not an official meeting.
Yeah.
Would a workshop, I mean, it's still technically a planning board workshop, even though there wasn't a quorum, right? It doesn't affect decisions that are made or things that are
Nope.
discussed.
There couldn't have been any decisions because there was no quorum. All they did was review the information. I think it's good that we did them just so the rest of the members know what was talked about, but we might want to make a note at the top, Mary, that those are non-official minutes. You know, just basically a summary of what was talked about.
Can you make that note of the top? Okay, the next item would be a continuation of the public hearing for the skateboard park. There were a couple of items that the Resort Association was going to provide, and there was a little
They did.
issue.
Resort Association?
I'm sorry?
The resort.
No, the resort, the Waterville
Yes,
Valley
I'm
Resort.
sorry, the
Yeah.
resort. I didn't think these confused.
The group, the ski group, the ski
All
group.
right. What is the official owner of the skateboard park? Is the Waterville Valley Resort, is that what it is?
Holdings, right?
Okay. Just I want to make sure
The
that-
parent company, yeah.
The parent
We're
company.
confusing there.
Yeah.
The resort.
Okay. There was an issue that, with the location shown on the plan of the skateboard park. It wasn't located as shown on the plan. It actually was further, closer towards
Closer towards Village Road
Village Road.
than what was
Which
shown.
puts it within that area where the easements are indeed affecting it, so.
Correct.
You were going to change it, did you change it?
He
on the
did.
plan?
He changed the map.
All
Yep.
right, so we have a map with it actually located now.
Yes.
And we have letters from all the people that are all the
Nearby.
owners that are affected by the easements, is that correct?
Well, making it clear that the letters that came from Snowy Owl, Black Bear, those have been submitted.
Correct. So you have
However-
one-
Go ahead. Dave, tell them about the easement.
So, well, that we just discussed.
Yeah.
So, yes, back on this map right here, which you have already. Okay. And
Is
yes,
that the one-
there was a surveyor's term. There was a bust in that in that drawing, and that is unfortunate. I can't help myself but talk about it. When I see a stamped plan, I call it good, and it was embarrassing. And the skateboard park is not located on that easement area map correctly. So I did a quick map and sent it off, and it's located correctly on the quick map that I did. But if you look closely at this map as far as easements go, and I've highlighted mine in red, there's an easement, and it's dedicated to Town Square. It says Town Square parking easement. And it's 100% Town Square.
So let me just.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll bring it down. So
And by that,
this
you
is
mean,
not
it
correct.
has nothing to do with that, there's no doubt.
The way I infer it, right there on that map,
This is
it identifies
easement.
3 actually easements on there.
This is the,
Two for Town Square, 1 for Snowy Owl.
they are cross easements, but specifically this is just for Town Square. So the skateboard park is all within Town Square.
Is there a document that says that?
Yeah, they've got the deed that
And that's part of the application?
there is a,
So there's
sorry.
butters.
There are butters, but there's the skateboard park is only on Town Square easement. That's it. Okay, and so this shouldn't be here, it should be here, and that's what put on this correctly. So it's non-specific for a guest or a user of the parking lot. Like they're not, there's no sign that says if you're at Town Square, park in here. But in the documentation, it's specific to Town Square for that red area. So,
Okay, so the only easement holders we have to be concerned about is Waterville
resort.
Resort.
Yeah. The owner of the skateboard park is the only one that's affected. When I say the only one affected, as far as the approval of the development and the required number of parking spaces back however many years ago, the only one that's affected is Town Square. Does that make sense? And it's hard because they're not specified on the ground for the guest. So somebody goes over and parks by Black Bear and then comes into Town Square. That's okay. They have non-specific specific easements, if that makes sense. Right?
Okay. Did you get some photos?
Well, as far as photos go, there's the maintenance plan that we talked about, and I put some photos in that. But as far as this exercise we're going through with easements and whatnot,
Okay, and there was some discussion about maintenance and cleanliness. And, we're going to submit some photos of the area cleaned up.
You did. Yeah, we have those in an email.
And do you have anything, you're going to submit something in writing with regard to maintenance?
Yeah, drafted up the maintenance plan for it, but more than drafted it.
All right, you had that?
Put something together and you've got it. Right. I've got it here, too. I've got one copy of it.
Okay, so he has it here for you to look at. Because I didn't print it out.
this is rather short, so I'll read the plans, if nobody else has any sets of background. Skateboard park has been a temporary installation for over 10 years. In cooperation with the abutting landowners, the local planning board, town officials, and resort staff, the temporary status of the park has now been designated permanent. With this status comes additional responsibility to manage and maintain the facility, heading maintenance. Attached are pictures and indicators locating unsightly areas in the park that are in need of repair. And there are several photos that are attached to it. In addition to carpentry, the area is needed fence repair, trash retrieval, trash removal, and paint. Areas of enclosure will require matching materials. This seems to be 1/2 inch ply. The enclosures may require venting. Some of the area has never been enclosed and will require about 6 sheets of plywood. Split rail fence is in need of repair. And then the next heading, oversight. Waterville Resort will continue to operate and maintain the skateboard park facility. Included in the packet is a picture of the welcome sign posted at the entrance. Hours and rules are clear. And there's a photo of the welcome sign with the hours and rules. I'll pass it on to you with the photos. That's the only set you have, but you can get back a copy. So that
Yeah, I think we have the electronic version of that. If you want me to send that out, I will.
Okay, does anybody have any comments on the oversight plan?
And if you approve it, that would become a code enforcement issue. And now Chris knows that the resort is responsible for it, and town square maintenance will be the day-to-day people.
It's kind of a weird plan. It's not really a maintenance plan. But couldn't it be used as a basis for going forward with those items that are checked off as maintenance? How things that need to be done in the future.
What's the plan for actually doing the work?
You kind of need something that says like trash retrieval and weed and
I don't have a date.
paint once a season. That's
Well,
what
but,
we need to have.
okay, so your approval's gonna have to be a contingent on a date to do those repairs, because otherwise Chris is not gonna know when they're in compliance or not in compliance. So I would say, are those all of the items? I mean, I think those cover all of the items that you've discussed with them. As far as maintenance is concerned, it just needs a date as to when they'll be done. And then we have the point of contact if, number one, they're not done by that date, or number two, something ongoing happens that those aren't maintained.
Well, it was brought up
Is that-
at the board that the maintenance and cleanliness was an issue that should be addressed as part of the approval. And there was also some concern about landscaping and just generally keeping the
Mm-hmm.
skateboard park in good order. I wonder if taking this, what we have right here, and just writing a statement that these repairs will be accomplished by a certain date, and that landscaping and cleanliness and basic running of the operation will be kept up to standards where.
Well, the zoning ordinance has a general standard for community expectations, right?
Then you could say it meets
And then
zoning ordinance.
just in accordance with the zoning ordinance, yeah.
Just to show that it'll be, the intent is to maintain it or
Yeah.
to continue maintenance.
I don't think you need to go into a whole lot of detail. with that. Yeah. Right.
That way, Chris can look at it and say, this doesn't meet.
It either has done it, they have done it, or they haven't. Yeah. Does that sound fair, Dave?
Does anyone have a season for this? In other words, I remember them saying that they don't really look at it until a certain date, and then stop looking at it at a certain date.
Well, I mean, it's like any of our facility is not pretty in April, until the weather changes and we can start addressing it. I mean, no, absolutely. There is a certain extent that, yeah, there's a line, but, there has to be some flexibility on, as the snow starts to melt, we have a community cleanup day, and we have a lot of trash all around town until we do that cleanup time. But in July, now, it should look to the standard or whatever the wording is in the zoning ordinance for maintaining community standard. And I think that is enough to let Chris go around and say, the split rail fence is 3 sections of it are falling down. That's a problem. You know what I mean?
That's totally appropriate.
Is that?
For the
That's
fence
appropriate. I mean,
and
Yeah.
the painting.
Yeah,
But I'm
fence and
concerned
painting.
As soon
And,
as it gets warm out, and
Yeah.
there's a pile of beer cans, kids are gonna be like, there's where we're meeting tonight.
Yeah, well.
That should be.
and we can go around and make sure that those gross, big things are taken care of.
Yeah,
But-
I believe the intent is to maintain it the same as town square. is
Sure.
maintained.
Yeah,
Same-
absolutely.
It's the same people.
Yeah.
Just add that to the list.
Yeah. I just didn't want the expectation to be that it be perfect all of the time, because there's obviously going to be sometimes. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Okay, we're gonna pass that around. If we can get that back to Dave, can you just write on there a date that the repairs will be accomplished by?
I can't, I've got to pass that on to our maintenance people.
Well, I wouldn't
They're
even.
quite busy, but
Well, if you grant approval today, how many days is the board willing to put it in contingency-wise? Is it 10 days, 30 days, 60 days? What do
Put it
you,
in the approval.
you got to put it in the approval as a contingent requirement.
If that's
Huh?
not,
I'd rather see that.
Yeah,
if that's not met, then does that mean that the approval's revoked? You're back to
that's right.
square one?
And you're not back to square one, but you need to talk about it again and what happened and why didn't it get done. So it needs to be a reasonable amount of time.
What's realistic for the resort staff?
I really don't want to answer that. I'm not in a position. I do it. I do this pretty much on a daily basis at the mountain. We're scrambling with a lot of things, so I don't want to be that guy to pull people off and say go do this, because then it just becomes a mess. So I'll talk to the supervisors and find out when they can do it. I like the idea of just giving us a time. We got to have it done, or then there's issues. So I know that didn't answer the question.
Well, I
I'm
think
just telling
I
what
think
I'm
you got to
up
take
against.
into account that they're obviously fixing the access road, and those are maintenance folks that are.
Yeah, but you have a
Being-
much better idea than we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 30 days, I mean, if you want something, go with that. But I hope you understand where I'm at. I could do that all the time. I could just, now this is at the top of your list, and this is at the top of your list. And I'm really reluctant to do that. Yes, it will be in the queue, but I can't tell you when that is right now.
45
Like
days
Mark
would
said,
be the end of
we've got-
August.
Yeah, we got road repairs and flood
40
damage,
45
erosion control, and
45
on and on.
days would be the end of August.
So,
Calendar.
I mean, roughly. It's actually 40.
45 days?
45 days would roughly be the end of August.
Okay, and one last item that had come up was landscaping. So Larson said whatever they approve should give the planning board the right to revoke approval if safety, general appearance is not maintained.
I think that's along the lines of the same thing that you were just talking about. I mean, the landscaping fits in with the physical plant. I mean, they planted the trees that you required during one of your temporary approvals. Some of those trees have died. Some of those trees are really a lot bigger than when they planted them. And so, I mean, I guess, what do you want them to do?
Okay. I'm going to attempt a motion to get it into discussion. Now, I can't recall. Do we close the public hearing prior to the motion?
No, you usually leave it open and close it just before you vote. That way, David or other people can have input.
All right. I move that, whereas the skateboard park is an allowed use, whereas it sits on land encumbered by parking easements, whereas Waterville Resort is the only easement holder, whereas the skateboard park owner agrees to the conditions of this approval. That, on the condition that the skateboard park owner agrees that if at any time the planning board determines the land on which the skateboard park now sits is needed for parking, this approval is revoked. And on the direction from the selectmen to do so, the skateboard park owner will remove the facility and restore the site to its condition at the time of the skateboard park was originally installed. And that on the condition that the planning board may revoke the approval if safety and general appearance are not maintained. And on the condition that the repairs listed in the approval be accomplished by 45 calendar days, that the application as amended be approved. Any discussion? Yes.
I think I might go back to the 30 both because Dave suggested it, and I respect for the others that live in residential that actually took the time to come here and show us photos and stuff about it. I agree with 30 days. Because otherwise it's on zone.
Do you have an objection to that?
The landscape plan, I'm wondering if it included the landscaping that needed to be worked on.
Do we have specifics that we're looking for landscaping? I'm not.
Was there ever one that was required at the onset of this?
Several years ago, they did a landscaping plan and they planted those trees and bushes and all of that. They're different now than they were then. They made changes to them, to that landscaping plan, and the trees grew. So the question is what's there right now sufficient for the landscaping plan?
My only concern is that if we're making this motion regarding the skateboard park, should the landscaping plan also be included in this motion?
You talk about referring back to the landscaping plan that was originally.
I mean, trees are gonna grow, let's face it, but they can be maintained. Also, trimmed, etc. Replacement if they die.
we want
Well, isn't that, yeah, go ahead.
do we want to encourage tree planting if there's a possibility that we request it to be returned to its original
Exactly.
state?
And that's a good point too.
Well, you can remove,
I don't think they pull out the trees because it's asphalt that burns on, so trees won't be in the islands.
The trees are
They-
in the island between parking lots.
any more comments on the landscaping? This is right now, consideration, if I understand it correctly, is that we make a condition that, or we add a condition that the landscape be brought to the condition of the originally approved landscape.
Well, that's kind of hard because, like I said, if they changed it and things have been replanted more, how about just maintenance, maintaining?
Well, but that's already in the motion, isn't it, that
We
it'll
have
be
a motion
maintained?
that says on the condition that the planning board may revoke approval if safety and general appearance are not maintained.
Landscaping is.
I mean, he gave you a list of things that are gonna be repaired. That's the appearance. Well, landscaping isn't in there, but there's still the zoning, or you still have you still gotta maintain everything within the standards of the zoning ordinance. So, and that's for every property in town, falls into that same category. So,
I just don't want it to be something that, well, you didn't include it in it, so. I just think it should be mentioned.
how about,
Specify general appearance and landscaping?
there you go.
And on the condition that the planning board may revoke approval if safety, landscaping,
In general appearance.
and general appearance are not maintained.
That gives us some leeway to work with them. One of the trees dies, get it out of there and replace it, whatever the case may be. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. Moving away from landscape. You put a comment in there about permanent structure to be removed.
I didn't say permanent structure, but I did say be removed.
But the structure is now permanent.
Well, yes, as long as the skateboard park is operating, and as long as you don't need that parking for another development, it's
How do you
there.
remove a permanent structure?
Just like you remove a house. I mean, you go in and remove it. I mean, they just took down Lash's house, took out the foundation, dug it all out.
Yeah, but I don't understand it.
Well, it's permanent in the sense that every year they don't have to take it up. It's there. I mean, we could remove Town Square if you got enough money,
Right.
right? I mean, you could restore that to just land. Take all the foundations out, take out all of the structures and all of the infrastructure. It can be done. I mean, for the skateboard park, though, remember on your year to year when we first started, all of the elements had to be mobile. And the first couple of years, they were actually moved. But then that's kind of onerous. That takes a lot of time. So then you said, okay, you can leave them there over the winter, and then they became permanent. So now, if you're approving this use, it stays there until it's a different use, right? And they don't have to take it out every year.
Okay, but I'm wondering why we would put that comment in there that we would want to remove it.
Well, the reason I put that in there is because if you revoke the permit and it's no longer used as a skateboard park, it just sits idle,
The red house at the bottom of Cascade Ridge.
It's a permanent structure, and we fought for years to do something with that. But we didn't put anything down to remove it.
Well, but we did send a letter to them that told them that they had one of two choices. They either had to repair it or they had to remove it. So that's what we told the property owner, and that's when they went in. That's when they went in and repainted it and fixed the roof and all of the things that they did.
There's no planning board permit requirement for that.
There's no permit, yeah, it's not a planning board issue. At that point, it becomes code enforcement. I think the condition that Terry has put in there is if there's another development, you're just reserving the right to say, we don't want you to build another parking lot over here. We want you to take the skate park out and use that parking lot. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Dave? Okay. Right, Terry, is that your intent on
Yes,
that?
put it back to the original.
Put it back to the original use. Right. Okay.
So
I mean, I
another
just-
question for Dave. Is there anyone you can call to ask the question about maintaining, fixing the park right now?
right now.
Who makes that decision?
Well,
To shift your crew from one
yeah, Barry,
project to another?
ends up on Barry's desk.
I'm sorry?
Barry,
Barry St. Cyr.
yeah, up at the director of ops.
All right. And is there someone you can call to ask that question right now? The reason why I'm asking this is because you're going to wait another 30 days to ask somebody to come back here to the meeting. And then it's going to be another 45 days or 30 days, whatever you need to fix it. It's 60 days that this is going on again.
Well, what I thought I
Wouldn't you want
heard
to
was,
resolve this?
as a condition of approval, it is maintained, that maintenance plan is implemented in 30 days. Is that what I?
Yeah,
that's what
he's committing to doing it in 30 days.
You did say that for 30 days.
Yeah, I'm okay with 30 days.
Okay.
Mary, did you get all that down?
And we have videotape or video also. It's not a tape anymore.
Any further discussion? Do we have a second?
Second.
And we'll close the public hearing. And we will vote on this motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The application as amended has been approved with the conditions listed. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
Okay, the next order of business is new business, review of the signs. We'll table that. Can you get that on the next agenda, Mary? Under new business again?
Should we start doing an email discussion about this, since, about signage, because I feel like it's a big thing and time is ticking away. If we're still discussing it in August, how close are we gonna be to coming to a decision by November? Is that appropriate to?
I think you could, I mean, everything that you talk about needs to just be discussed or at least reviewed in here. But if you're talking about getting some language that people can review before the meeting or that kind of thing, is that what you're
Yeah, just
saying?
people, if you're sitting at home reading it,
Yeah,
even on the kitchen table like I did, but type it into the computer so everyone can just sort of see what everyone's thinking beforehand and have
And-
time to think about it in the end before we come
And maybe that's getting Bill to send something to Mary that can be distributed. Rather than have each one of you talk to each other, if you do it through Mary
Okay.
as a conduit so that everybody gets all of the information, I think you'd be okay. And this is one of the things that, like, two of you could discuss, or even three of you could discuss it. You know what I mean? Like, if you run into each other, it's not an application, so there's no legal issues about you guys talking amongst yourself outside of the meetings. But decisions and review by everybody should be controlled, I think, through Mary distributing it, so everybody's getting the same information.
So you guys be able to ask Bill to send in that what you were originally talking about last week and use that as a beginning point?
Sure.
And I have what he sent to everyone before.
Is that the same as what we saw last month?
I think so. I think he was just reading off of that file, so I'm pretty sure you already have an electronic copy of what you started the discussion with. But like you said, Wendy, if everybody reviews it, makes comments on it, and gets those comments back to Mary, and then she can share it with the whole board. That way everybody is hearing everybody's comments.
Well then,
Might save you some time.
Mary, could you email Bill and ask him
Because you made some recommendations, didn't you, last time, as part of your discussion, and he was gonna make some modifications or whatever?
Right.
So maybe he can get that call it revision 1 or whatever you want to do, and get that out to start talking about it.
Okay. Other old business. Anybody else have new business, by the way? Okay. Under old business, address North Country Council contract, continued review and revision of zoning ordinance, past and upcoming workshop. We did have a workshop with Tara Banford. Two of us were there, Cindy and myself. There wasn't an awful lot concluded. And basically it was a general discussion of what we expected and what she expected to do. And so she was going to put together an agreement that would kind of solidify the scope, and then put together a list of items that would be addressed. And Mark, you noticed we have a
We did get something from her late yesterday, and it's in your packet.
have you had a chance to review this?
I have not. I just with the planning or with the selectmen's meeting, I didn't. So
Well, it's basically it's an agreement. We all have copies of it. Between the town and the country council.
bless you. So she's going to facilitate 2 planning board workshops focusing on potential zoning changes to implement the pedestrian village study and other community goals. The potential changes will include but not be limited to parking, development density, lighting, and uses. Provide a first draft for zoning language changes based on the workshops. Meet with the planning board to discuss and receive comments on the draft. Provide a second draft review the second draft, have a public meeting, revise the draft again, so a third draft, and then do the public hearing notice and warrant article. Cost is $10,000 to do that. So for $10,000, we will get changes in parking, development density, lighting, and land uses in the town core. That will make it compatible, make the zoning ordinance more compatible with the goals of the village, the pedestrian village study.
Now, it was my understanding at the workshop.
Yep.
Again, this is floating in out of my head.
Yep.
That when she says zoning ordinance, she's including regulations.
Yeah, I think that the discussions will, we just need to, because you control the regulations, that any discussions include just taking notes on changes to the subdivision regs and site plan review regs.
Right, because we have a lot of conflicting information between
Yeah.
or statements in the regulations between the site and the subdivision. And we had talked about going through that with council, and she
Yeah.
said, well, we don't need to do that because
Yeah,
council
That's right. That's right. And I think you can do that because you should be looking at all three of the documents concurrently.
Can we add that to this terms?
I think that we can send her an email back that says that to her.
Yeah, just on item number one.
Yeah.
Facility, planning board workshops focusing on potential zoning and regulations.
Site plan review regs and
Right. So that's
subdivision
where the
regs.
confusion came.
Yeah. Okay.
So you'll check with her on that?
I'll send her an email back today.
Other than that, it seems to address what we were looking for. I assume this is just, the rest of it's just boilerplate stuff that is kind of standard.
Yeah.
There is another workshop that was scheduled for the 27th, was tentatively scheduled for the 27th. And it would be good if two more members could attend that. Unfortunately, I can't. So, I feel a little sheepish.
Do as I
asking you
say,
guys to
not
do
as
it.
I do. That's like a parent thing, isn't it? I don't know.
Is that this one? Yes, yeah. And that has to be confirmed with her. It was
Well,
tentative.
I thought that one was confirmed with her.
July 27th was confirmed with her,
Okay.
as long as it was going to be attended by
Right,
the
we have to
majority
get
of the
back to
planning
her
board. Yeah.
confirm on that. No, I can hear you. It's just that week. Starting Thursday.
It's going to be, yeah, we're trying to do them the second and fourth Thursdays, so you have a regular meeting on the second Thursday and the workshops on the fourth Thursdays. And keep them at 8 o'clock, I mean, so that your routine is as much about these meetings as it can be.
Yeah.
So can we find out if a majority of the board can be there so that we can start this work by the agreement?
Well, for those that are here today, how many can make it on the 27th? right, 26th. All right, maybe we should do it by email,
Right. Yeah,
just so we can get everybody. Just kind of a general mailing out. And, put the 26th of July, the 27th of July, Friday probably.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's.
Ask her first. Good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, find out what dates are available for her, even if it goes into the following week. Or for that matter, people speak, she probably wouldn't be prepared.
Mary, do we have a color version of the agreement letter with you? Yeah, Terry, will you be able to stop by the office and sign that?
Yeah.
I think if you and I sign, well, I'd like a board vote to, because it's your 10, yours, the planning board's $10,000 that was budgeted, that we will be committing with this. Guess sometimes you gotta step up, man. You gotta say yes. We're gonna spend it.
Is there any further discussion on the North Country Council proposed agreement for the review of the town zoning ordinance and regulations as amended?
Mm-hmm.
Just a point of order, sir, I don't think I can bring it down, so I don't think I can vote.
Well, I think
He can be seated. Yeah, there.
Somebody seeking the remedy.
I think Mary probably mentioned this to this.
Thank you.
Whoa, so efficient over there. Good job.
Do you have any comments? Then I'll move that the planning and technical services contract between Town of Waterville Valley, New Hampshire, and North Country Council, fiscal year 2018 zoning amendments, as presented by Tara Banford, as amended in section 1, paragraph 1, to read, facilitate 2 planning board workshops focusing on potential zoning changes and regulation changes. Be approved in, be approved by the planning board for execution.
In the chair and the town manager sign it and get it back to North Country Council.
For the chair and
What he said.
what he said. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That is approved. We'll go ahead with that, and Mark will take care of that.
Okay.
Okay, under old business again, resident electronic participation in meetings. Mark, I think we're going to look into that a little bit.
Yeah, and the only question is the getting every comment that is made. I think you can have any electronic participation that you want. The question becomes, how do we facilitate it so that it's fair and equitable? And I think what we've been talking about is email comments that come into the town to Mary or to myself or to the town of WV email that Sharon monitors, uses. Those things either are distributed to you prior to the meeting, or if we get them at the last minute, they're brought in hard copy form, and they can be read into the record or whatever, whatever you want. But the question comes, how are you going to handle people that do an email during your meeting because they're watching live stream or something like that? There is no way for us to, number one, guarantee that we see every one of those. Because if something comes to my email or to Mary's email during a meeting, we're not going to see it. So the live comments or the comments during the live streaming, I don't think that you should take those electronically because there's no way to guarantee it. And electronically, I mean even phone or text or, there's just no way for us to guarantee that it's heard. If it comes in beforehand, then I think you're okay. That's on regular business or like the zoning changes or things like that. On an application, I would say that we do not take, and you guys don't take any comments electronically. Once you have a completed application before you, you can't have any discussion. The electronic discussion is included in the prohibition that you guys can't talk about it outside of the meeting.
Okay, how do we get this into the procedure?
I think the easiest way is a comment wherever you think it's appropriate, either in your standard operating procedures, just a comment about electronic discussion, and just say that the electronic discussion will be in accordance with RSA 91-A, and that and your other regulations. So take the electronic input the same way you'd take input from somebody here or running into somebody at the coffee shop. So if it's a completed application, you can't talk about it. If it's anything else, you can talk about it and come into a meeting and discuss it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with if Nancy gets a text during the week on something, for her to bring that in and read it to everybody else and have it part of the discussion. I just, I think that's the same as seeing someone at the post office.
How do we come up with the wording to add into the
Well,
procedure?
they did it. Sharon and I took the first step,
Yep.
right to know
Mhm.
class, and they gave us the first printing of the right to know book. Everything's in there.
Yeah,
And I can
there's
copy
language.
right
That's
from
right.
there.
Mhm.
They also state the RSA's.
Yeah.
And it's all there.
And did I say anything different than what, Mary, did I say anything different than what
No,
you were
that's
told
what
at the,
it suggests. Just put in there RSA.
yeah.
That covers it.
So a single statement in your standard operating procedures that just says that you're going to treat electronic communications, text, cell phone, emails in accordance with 91A, and that you're going to treat it just like you do any other communications that you have outside of meetings. And I really think it is that easy.
And they even talk about, if, like, well, with Bill not being here during, like, the public hearing, if you wanted to call in and participate that way, you have to have Skype or, something of that nature that, have it, so you can't do it. And it's not supposed to be anybody in the room with them. There's all
Well,
kinds of regulations on it.
Right, if there's a completed application before them, right, and you have a majority of the board present, then anybody can call in or Skype in whatever whatever we want to do, and they can participate in the meeting and they can actually vote as long as a majority is physically present in the room. You can't. Any board member,
Not any.
right, not anybody outside of the board.
Speakerphone,
Right.
everybody, they have to be able to hear
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
Everybody has to be able to hear them.
Then I should have clarified board versus.
Yeah, it's board, I'm talking about the board now, yeah.
Well, you're gonna get a statement written that can be put into
Mhm.
procedure, and it should refer to this RSA,
91A, yeah.
91A,
Yeah.
and we should have that RSA available, I guess, for review.
Yeah, it's the right to know law, but we'll print it off for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you get someone to write that sentence, or go ahead?
Sure. No,
Just copy from.
we'll just copy it from the book,
Okay.
and we'll have it at the next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
If we make it an agenda item at the next meeting.
Will that also address the time period, or like the limit as to when email comments can be received before a meeting, like say an hour before a meeting starts, or is that in there?
No.
Well, I don't, do you want to get that detailed? I mean, I think if we,
It kind of falls on the town, I don't know how you guys handle it, do you check emails before coming?
sure, yeah, I mean, today I delivered all my emails prior to coming over. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, it's like somebody calling us to make a comment. Sometimes they're going to get voicemail, sometimes we're going to talk to them. I mean, I think your safest bet is to treat it like any other communication, and we're not guaranteeing that your comment's going to be made unless you're sitting right here talking to the board. I mean, that's really the only way you can do it. Well, but even 24 hours prior to the meeting, if you're out or I'm out, or no, if you get hit by a moose or whatever, I mean, we don't get hit by buses here, we get hit by moose. So, but see, there's no, I mean, you can't guarantee.
I was gonna say, if you
That-
put a time limit, you're implicitly guaranteeing.
That's right.
that-
That's right. You got it. Hey, I got it in 26 hours before the board meeting, and you didn't talk about it at the meeting. So, I mean, the only way we can guarantee it is for them to show up at the meeting.
I think for the potential for it becoming a real big snag,
Mhm.
very small. So
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think we'll make our best effort to, just like the telephone call, to let people know, to let you know.
I need a little help with this. I'm not in big favor of texting at all.
Yeah.
Something like this. Can
Mhm.
you help me out with that?
Well, texting, I don't think that once you have a completed application, you should not accept any texts about that application. Okay? Email, you shouldn't accept any phone calls. You shouldn't talk about it at the post office with anyone. Hey, sorry, got a completed application. I can't talk to you about that, but our meeting is such and such a day and time, and come in and tell us.
So they physically would want them physically to show up.
Well, they have to, because once you have a completed application, you can't have any discussion about it outside of a legally called meeting with a majority present.
And how about before, like we would accept maybe an email before?
Yeah, if you're just regular business or you don't have a completed application before you,
You have a
then
question?
you can take an email, you can take a phone call, you can talk about it in any way.
But out of all that communications,
Yeah,
I have a problem with texting,
yeah,
because it's like broken English to me.
uh-huh.
It's just not complete. Email is a little more complete. Phone call a little more complete. So I sort of need help with that, accepting a text.
I've gotten some pretty cryptic emails over the last 3 days that were 2 words that could have been a text. No, just because I've had back and forth with people, but we did it by email when we could have just as easily been doing it by text, and it would have been exactly the same thing. So you can have a record of text messaging that can be permanent. If you want it to be, I think if someone came in and read off of their phone, hey, I got a text about this and I'd like to read it into the record, we have an official record of that now. I really did. Does anyone else see a problem with that? I mean, I think it would be the same thing as reading an email.
LOL.
I think,
You know, so emoji,
If there's
smiley
some-
emoji.
if there's some lack of clarity in what the text or email or phone call says, and the recipient, I think, can certainly go back and
Sure.
say, it's unclear what it is you want us to discuss, and what point
Right.
you want to raise, could you please be more specific?
Yeah.
Perhaps that will help, or text, move off of text to an email.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem if you get an email and you want to forward that to Mary and say, hey, Mary, would you please print this out so that we can discuss it at the meeting, or put it in the packet because it relates to this item on the agenda? That's fine. Just forward it and we'll put it in, we'll make sure everybody gets it.
I think the chance of misinterpretation, responsibility lies with the texter anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Once you hand that over to somebody else to take care of it, as opposed to going to read yourself and stating it.
Just like
I
the
think
email,
that responsibility
absolutely.
is-
I mean, if they want to be the clearest to you, they should come in and have the
Yeah.
discussion with you, and then you can ask them questions. I mean, that's why you have public hearings. I don't think that the planning board is accepting any additional responsibility, or there's nothing that puts the onus on you to interpret an email or a text beyond what it says. And if it's unclear, it's going to be unclear. I mean, you're not mind readers, so.
Are all town boards adopting the same procedure? Like the select board or?
Yeah, I mean, 91A applies to everybody. So, I mean, I think as long as you're saying that you're just going to follow 91A, you're not going to do anything in addition to it, and you can't detract from it. So, I just,
Does this only apply to applications that have been made, or is it just general conversation, or?
91A applies to any public board in the state of New Hampshire, including all the state boards and all the town boards, school boards. It applies to everybody. So it's the right to know law, and it just governs how you share information with the public.
It's not limited to formal applications?
No.
Okay.
But there are laws in the land use sections of state law that apply specifically to the application, and that's what I'm referring to when there is a completed application before the planning board. They can't have any ex parte communication on it. The only time they can talk about it is when there is a majority of the board in a legally called meeting. Right? That's pretty clear in your standard operating procedures. So
I remain unclear on one point.
Yeah.
I've not read 91A, so
Yeah.
I apologize for that. Do we have the authority to reject someone who would like to call in on a speakerphone as opposed to being here in person, so that we all hear it? It's on speakerphone and we could interact with that person, or Skype or what have you.
I think that you do have that right, because you can't guarantee that everybody who wants to do it can do it. So let's say that we have 3 people who contact us prior to a meeting, and they want to call in using a speakerphone and listen to your deliberations or participate in a public hearing on a completed application. We do not have that capability at Town Hall for 3 people to call in simultaneously and participate in that meeting. So I would recommend to you, and I'd recommend it to the selectmen, everybody, to just say, I'm sorry, we don't have that capability. Here are some alternatives. Send us an email prior to this date and time, and we don't guarantee that, the delivery and all that, or show up to the meeting and have the discussion with us. I mean, I really,
And there's nothing in the RSA.
and there's nothing in the
requires
RSA
us
that
to
requires
have
you to do that, right, Mary? There's nothing,
Is they don't, like the text question, they don't mention text
No.
at all.
And then you run into the problem with if you're broadcasting
right.
and somebody wants to rebut or dispute something that somebody
Yeah, they
speaks
can't
on,
call
you
in,
can't.
there's
Right.
there's no way, there's no guarantees. The guarantee is being here.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the electronic?
Did that answer all the questions that we've had? Is that,
Yeah, and I
Gonna
think
be
the next
okay.
step is we're gonna get you something in writing that refers to the RSA. And,
Yeah.
Get it into the procedure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to committee reports, town court group.
Yeah, we had a engineer from Horizons Engineering come through a couple weeks ago to look at where potential sites would be for the welcome gateway sign, as recommended by the Pedestrian Village Study. And we just barely received an estimate back, and we're actually meeting at 11 o'clock this morning to review that. Hopefully, continue moving forward.
Okay.
I have a question. What does that mean?
Oh, so
In terms of how close, much closer are we to putting a sign up and how much closer are we to getting the money to do it?
well, we are pretty close to having an amount, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, within our budget to allow the engineer to move forward with developing the plan.
four options, right?
Creating 4 options. Basically, what we're looking at is there's, what is it, 100 feet from the turn to Triple I?
Several hundred feet, actually.
Okay. Looking at doing it as you're approaching town on the left-hand side. And in discussion with the engineer, there is talk of what the different values are that we could pull out of this if we're going to just make sure that the sign is engineered to be there. That's one. Are we better off if we're looking at tearing up some pavement? Should we look at repairing a stretch of it? That's 2. Are we looking at perhaps adding a sidewalk? And, we felt like there's potential long-term savings at looking at different options. So that's where the engineer's coming into play to help us look at, if there's a culvert and we're disrupting the pavement, should we replace the culvert? Get down in there, do some scoping, see how it really is. So we're just trying to see what the ultimate best value is, even though it's just a sign, if we can squeeze more out of it long-term and get to
So as far as where we are, this will be a decision by the town core group whether or not to get these 4 options from the engineer, because there's an amount of money associated with that. Then when we get the 4 options, bring it here to the planning board and to maybe a public meeting and get some consensus on one of those 4 options. We would get enough of a design so that we could get budget estimates during the fall and include a construction project for the sign on the warrant in March next year. So we're not going to construct anything this year.
But we would put the budget, we would put it in the budget for the town to pay for it?
Yes.
Because we're not gonna rely on grants.
No. We are done with the grants and, yeah.
Good, good. No, I think
Okay.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on to executive director. Mark, This is the individual that is to be potentially hired by resort association.
Yeah, and the resort association says committee on that hasn't met yet. They're going to move in two main directions, to get any kind of job description down yet, so. In the works.
I think it would be best to find out what the resort association's vision is for this person, bring that to you guys, and why I say bring it to the planning board is, get some input from the planning board. Is there some potential benefit or potential jobs that could be done by this person that dovetail with what the resort association wants them to do? But until we know what that is, we can't tell if it matches.
And to be clear, the resort association has not decided to move forward
Right,
with this.
exactly.
So I'll just scratch it from the agenda, we won't bring it up.
No, I think it would be best to just wait until we get some input from them.
I'll speak up if there's any.
Okay. Communications, Mary? Other than agreement. Looking at typical files, I was looking at item 1, which we've been carrying for quite some time, C1 density, extension of Boulder Path. I think that that's going to kind of get folded into
With Tara's
Tara
work.
Manford's
Mhm.
review, so I'm going to scratch, take that out.
Yep.
And the potential of 2 meetings per month. Everybody excited about that?
Well,
Yes.
but that's the intent,
With the
not two
workshop.
official meetings, but a meeting and workshop.
Okay. Is that something that you want to bring up at any time to kind of make it official, or we just kind of keep it unofficial?
Well,
It leaves a second week open for workshop, which is good.
yes, I think that that's probably the best way to go. But it is going to take some time between now and the end of the year to get these zoning changes
Right.
done with thought. So,
But I think trying to get 2 meetings in addition to workshops.
no. I don't think that was not the intent.
But I don't think there's any further discussion required on that. And the master plan, it is getting to that point where it really should be updated. However, again, I think that it would be best to wait till after the Tyler and her work and things get rearranged and then we can look at that.
And that could become our workshop topic.
Yes.
um, for
Does anybody have any other items they want to bring up? That being the case, can we have a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?